Well, my next guest tonight is an Englishman with Irish roots. He shot to fame in the 1980s as the colourful frontman of one of the defining bands of that era, and his popularity has endured in spite of his very public battle with drugs and repeated maulings at the hands of the tabloids. He's here tonight with his mum, a Dubliner, who has stood by her son in the absolute worst of times. Ladies and gentlemen, please give your warmest welcome back to Dublin to Boy George and his mother, Dinah. You're very welcome, Dinah. You're so nice. Can you sit there?
Aren't you tall?
Yeah. Do you know, you're very, very like your mother, facially.
I'm very feminine.
Yeah, no.
We do, yeah, we do.
No,
look,
Jenny,
yeah, we
I
have a
met
bit,
you and
yeah.
I just think you're both very good. And what you are alike, do you think that?
Yeah, my
Yes,
sister,
yes.
me, and my brother David look like my mum, and the others look like my dad. Dark, you know. They got
Yeah.
hair, we got no hair. She's still got hair.
I have to say, to be
Unfair.
fair, now, without George libelling our national airline, George was a bit upset. He flew in today for us, but he lost his bag and all his clothes, so we had
I
to dress
didn't
him.
lose my bag. The airline, which we've been told
Which
not to
will remain
mention,
nameless.
an Irish airline, lost my bag. But luckily, the wardrobe people found me a nice
Yeah,
jacket.
we
I'm going to try and
dressed him.
keep
He
this.
looks
It's
good, doesn't
expensive. And they polished me up. I had my hat, thank God.
Yeah, you always have hats, don't you?
I had the hat, well, because you can't carry on more than one piece of luggage. So I had that in a separate suitcase. That came through because it weighed the less. Can you believe they charged me excess baggage and I didn't even get my bags? 40 euros.
But listen, Dinah, you are from Dublin, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little about where you were from and when you...
Well, I lived in Wellington Street, just off of Dorset Street. I lived there till I was 19. And then I came to London, and I've been here ever since, in London ever since.
And do you miss Dublin? I mean, do you regard
Well, I
it...
come home
Yeah.
as often as I can, at least twice a year. And if there's anything going on, party, special events.
Press, you know.
And when he was getting to be really famous, how did you cope with that? Was that amazing? Was that something you expected?
Well, at the very beginning,
Yeah.
I was absolutely gobsmacked. I mean, the fact, I mean, he was, I knew he could sing. He was
Yeah.
always singing from a child. But, like, the first time I see him on Top of the Pops was just, I kept looking and thinking, oh, my God, that's George. And I kept thinking he's
That's
going to
so sweet,
fall over
though.
the wires.
Yeah, I know, but every mother thinks that about their job.
And then when he phoned me after and he said, what did you think? I said, it was great. I said, but I was frightened you'd fall over. He said, no, that was done yesterday.
But isn't just to remind people of how fantastic he was in those days. Not that you're still fantastic now, but we're going to have a look back. They have a clip upstairs of George in his heyday. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
What now?
Do you know what I found really sweet? Because part of the reason you're on tonight is you've written your own book about your own life experience. We're going to get on to that in a moment. But one of the sweetest things is that even when he was really famous, you continued to work in your job as a cleaner.
Yes.
But that's so sweet.
For
Why did you
20
do
years. Well, because...
Just in case.
His,
Very Irish.
no,
Just in case.
it's funny, really. After a
lovely.
while,
Yeah.
being amongst people with lots of fame and lots of money
Yeah.
is quite boring.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
Yeah,
no,
what?
honestly, it is quite boring.
Yeah.
Because they're all false.
Yeah. No.
You know, when you...
You're talking
when you-
about me.
Yeah, no. Go on.
There is an awful lot of false.
Rubbish.
You know, they come up and say, hello, darling, and I don't know them. I've never seen them in my life before. They say things about your son, and I think, well, it's just a boy. You know, he's just... And he can sing. You see, what people perceive to be fame,
Yeah.
I didn't see that. And then I just thought to myself, like, you know, well, that's him, and this is me. I've got other kids. I've got to get on with my life. And
But that's what amazing. And your book, I have to honestly say, was amazing. I saw you also in an RT documentary, Would You Believe, talking about your life with your husband, Gerald, and George's dad. And that was not an easy life.
No.
Tell me about it.
Well, it was a bit... I didn't realise, obviously, at first. I went away with great hopes of meeting somebody because I had a child.
Yeah.
And I met Gerald. He was very handsome, very charismatic. And I really did fall in love with him. And I was totally in love with him. And I think the violence and the gambling, I still tried to make the marriage work. And it wasn't to do with being a Catholic or anything like that.
No.
I mean, my mum had been married for 20, 40 years. And, you know, she was with my dad till he died. She died when she was 67. I just wanted it to work. I didn't want to be, you know, I had a child, I messed up, and now I can't even hold a marriage together.
And you wanted it to work. And George, were you aware, obviously, because we have a little clip here actually which is interesting about how he treated you, because he treated you also very badly, but were you aware growing up what he was like to your mother?
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
I have to say, I love my dad dearly. You know, my dad was an amazing man, and I think this is the saddest thing for all of us, was that my dad wasn't just a bad person. You know, if someone's just a bad person, you can write them off and say, well, my dad was an incredible man, you know, and I loved him dearly. But he just never knew what he had in my mother.
Yeah.
You know, it was like typical of that generation of fathers that could be... Everyone down the street loved my dad. You couldn't say a bad word about my father. Everyone knew him, and he was so charismatic. But he would come home and talk to my mother like she was, you know, sort of like the third world, you know, and it was a shame because, you know, he couldn't give her what he gave everybody else, and that was a tragedy.
He would show me, because he was a builder, he'd bring me to see this house and he'd tell me, what do you think of that? And it was fabulous. Yeah. And I couldn't even get a tin of paint on the wall. So, you know what I mean?
The kitchen, 20 years.
Because in other words, what you're saying is he was a gambler, but maybe he was just suffered from his own demons, that he wasn't necessarily a bad person, but he gave you a dog's life.
My dad was a child.
He was like my seventh child.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, eventually, that's how I had to treat him. You know, I just thought, you know, I don't want to listen to you. Go away.
But he was violent, as you said, which
violent,
is never acceptable.
Well, at the beginning, the first thing was he saw me talking to somebody, put two and two together and come up with 5.
Yeah.
And didn't even ask me to explain who it was. He just punched me. I went across the room, and obviously I was terrified.
We have a clip, actually, and as you say, you know, people are complicated, and as you say, your father had lots of good points, but if you're a woman and somebody's violent to you, that's always diabolical. But we have a clip here, actually, of your dad and you during the 80s talking to one of our presenters, Derek Davis, and he's talking about you, George. Let's just have a look at your dad.
What's he saying?
He comes from people that have got their feet firmly on the ground, that have got no illusions about life, no illusions whatsoever, you know. And George realises that success, you know, in a lot of respects is an imposter. You know, that we're all very normal people, and if success comes to us, it's a big bonus. Initially, when he started dressing up, I reacted. You know, I'll be honest with you, I reacted. But it became evident after a while that, you know, you just were not going to change George.
When you say you reacted, I mean, did you give him a clip in the ear?
No, I didn't actually sort of clip him or anything like that. It's not one of the real things that we've had to do, you know. We usually sort of just use the verbals, you know. But I'd still clip him in the ear, let's put it that way, you know. If they got too far out of line, I'd give them a backhand, or, you know.
My mum's face is always classic.
Your face was a picture like rubbish.
Yeah, well, you know.
But like when, for instance, George, do you think he found you difficult because you were gay and you dressed unusually for a boy?
This is the funny thing about my dad, you know. My dad was great when I came out. I came out when I was 15, which is a long time ago. And my dad was really cool. It was really cool. My dad was one of those people, when you thought he was going to go mad, he'd be totally rational.
Okay.
It's like, you do something really bad.
Very
like,
complicated character.
You know, you never knew when he was going to explode.
When did you know that George was gay? Did you know he was gay before he came out and said he was gay to you?
No.
You didn't?
No.
What do I have to do?
No. I mean, you know, 14 years of age.
No.
Well, I wouldn't have known anything about the gay scene at all, anyway.
Did you mind?
No. I told Georgie, OK, we sat down and we chatted. And I do remember thinking, oh, God, he's not going to have any children.
Yeah.
But that was the first thought that came into my head.